naming was largely a byproduct of decolonization, when societies that were once under external subjugation, culturally, politically, economically, felt a need to justify their history and rise to the defense of their externally denigrated cultural existence, especially by religious evangelists of all shades, the familiar advance guard of the colonial stormtroopers. No wonder religion-inspired cultures enjoy a double validity in relativism. In the first instance, they already have a record of social community acceptance. Next, religion itself enjoys a derived authentication, a presumptuous one again, since it represents an external force that is not subject to man-inspired reviews. Hence, I use the word presumptuous because we are presuming the authority of an external force, which, for all we know, may not exist. Belief, however, is only qualitatively different from colonial occupation. The mind is thoroughly colonized and can only free itself through the application of that same mind, which, however, as already outlined, is occupied by an exterior force. Every nook and serration of that cranial mass that we call the brain is occupied from birth, and the struggle to free a corner of it for objective reflection on what occupies it is by no means an easy one. This is one of the reasons why religion should be confined strictly to a personal, internal, and voluntary self-service, not allowed to move externally and arrogate to itself any theocratic control of sentient humanity. About a decade ago, an uproar was provoked in Kenya, where upon the demise of a citizen of notable substance, a polygamist, one of his sons evoked the right of inheritance over his father's widows, including, of course, the dowry that she brought with her to her new home. He cited traditional usage, traditional culture. Conveniently forgotten or ignored by him was the obvious fact that the world had moved on, that humanity has learned to appreciate the innate attribute of the human entity, which is that it is a creature of volition. You do not own other human beings. Society all over the world in general has learned that human beings are not bales of cloth, cattle, or even real estate that can be passed from hand to hand at will. And so the courts firmly educated the heir presumptive of the deceased that the traditional culture he cited was obsolete and had no place in contemporary Kenya. Well, let us venture into an even more gruesome instance, a recurrent one, please note, one whose denouement is currently playing out in the United Kingdom and involves an immigrant family and the cultures that form part of the bag and baggage of the immigrant. Mother and son are currently in the dock on trial. Under the culture of so-called honor killing, an ex-husband lured his former wife to her doom with the aid of her family and murdered her. Should that individual, the criminal, the accused, be tried at all? Both he and his mother can confidently expect a long spell in prison for a crime which, in the view of that family, was no crime at all, but its opposite, an act of honor, a cultural mandate as enshrined in their social mores. And so the question is, should the British court simply dismiss the case, set it down as the entitlement of cultural relativism, and thus decriminalized? It's not an exceptional event that we're talking about, neither in that part of England nor in many other parts of the world. If approached on the strict behavioral implications of that principle of relativism, that family has committed no crime. Their ethical conduct must be held relative to their own mores and thus not subjected to our yardsticks. We can